Welcome to Wednesday Newsday, your #1 resource for the entire week's worth of VR news. Okay, so if you thought the situation was bad a few weeks ago regarding Meta, things have gotten a lot worse. Like, things aren't looking good, and it has me pretty concerned. PSVR2's release date and price have been revealed, VRChat is about to support hand tracking, Unreal Engine 5 makes VR look incredibly realistic, and Rec Room is about to expel a large portion of its player base. All that and so much more. Let's just get right into the news. So remember months ago I talked about Meta's stock free-falling and them losing about $251 billion of value? Well, while that was bad, it's gotten much worse just this past week. That $251 billion is now closer to a $700 billion lost. The company, previously valued at over $1 trillion, is now only worth $250 billion. And to give you an idea of how bad this has gotten, Home Depot as a company is worth more than Meta right now. And unfortunately, the Quest Pro launch didn't do much to help. And things have gotten so bad that I am, at this point, seriously concerned. I mean, you even have the Mad Money guy crying about Meta stock.
I apologize.
And all of this has to do with a few things, but mostly Meta's spending and gross lack of revenue. In a Q3 earnings report, Reality Labs, the division behind everything VR at Meta, reported its worst revenue quarter ever, pulling in half as much as last year from $558 million to $285 million. And they blame this directly on the drastically lower sales of the Quest 2, which makes sense. A whole lot of factors, from the Quest 2's price increase making it less appealing, to very few new games and applications coming to the Quest and rising competition. The Quest 2 just isn't selling nearly as well as it did at launch, which is kind of what happens when your device gets more expensive and doesn't get any more software. The other problem that is alarming investors is the spending, as Reality Labs has been spending billions on R&D with massive teams. Apparently, the Horizon team itself has over 1,900 employees, take that however you want. And all of this wouldn't be so bad, except Zuckerberg not only stated that they're going to keep spending like this, but that they are going to spend more, and that revenue will likely decrease even further. And investors have, no joke, pretty much started protesting Zuckerberg, as he's pretty much the only one in power. If this were a different company that were organized differently, the board would have likely voted him out of CEO. It's gotten to that point. But he's here to stay, and I'm honestly pretty mixed on this whole situation. As much crap as we give Meta and Horizon, they have put their foot down. They gave the middle finger to investors that are just looking for short-term revenue. They are quite literally betting the farm on the AR and VR industry and putting everything that Meta is on the line, which I can massively respect. There's no other company in the world that is investing as heavily in the VR industry as Meta, but it's also pretty concerning. They spent years being pretty anti-competitive, and now that the industry didn't grow how they had anticipated, it's biting them in the butt. They bought all the best studios in the world, and then no more games came out from them. It's just kind of a weird situation. And I've actually got a lot more to say on this whole subject. I'm probably going to end up doing a full Dear Meta video soon, because while, yes, it's amazing that Meta is trying so hard and investing so much money to keep the industry alive, like, we all appreciate it, and VR wouldn't be where it is now without those investments, but at the same time, losing 70% of your company's value within a year after changing your name to Meta is a little scary, not only for Meta themselves, but to the entire VR industry that they're trying to shape. And I'm definitely going to keep watching this. I don't think Meta's going to go belly up or anything, but these next 2 years may be especially tough on the company. And I'll also say that every tech company in the world is watching Meta sink with their investments into the VR industry, and it's not making VR look all that appealing. I just hope that we don't have another 1983 situation on our hands. I don't think that's the case, but it's still a little scary. Also related, Mark Zuckerberg is about to testify before Congress yet again regarding this Federal Trade Commission case for anti-competitive practices, where Meta was recently blocked from acquiring Within Unlimited. And who knows, maybe Meta is just driving their value into the dirt to get the FTC off their backs, but hey, that's just a theory. And on the positive side of things, Quest 3 was officially confirmed to be coming late next year. But given everything we just talked about, this upcoming Rec Room situation makes a lot more sense. So Rec Room is one of the largest VR social apps to have ever existed, not only bringing in millions of users from pretty much any device you can imagine, but also raking in a ton of investment money as one of the few unicorns of the VR industry, pulling in $100 million in a funding round last year. And if you've spent any time in Rec Room, you'll know that a large portion of the user base is pretty young. The Rec Room squeaker is a very real thing. And this is actually aided by Rec Room, as they've supported both standard accounts and something they call junior accounts, an account type that allows kids 12 and under to still play Rec Room. They just aren't allowed to speak, send messages, or damage other players. But this is all about to change, as Meta stated they would remove Rec Room from the App Store if they didn't remove junior accounts from the game. And this isn't just limited to Rec Room, this is an entire store sweeping change across all apps, basically sending the message, don't allow anyone under 13 years of age to play or you're off the store, with them officially stating that Meta devices are, quote, not toys and children have greater risks of injury and adverse effects than older users, end quote. And to be fair, this is a good move. I mean, it's kind of weird that junior accounts existed at all, especially considering that 13 years or older is the general age for kind of everything on the internet due to COPPA, but I don't see this really changing all that much of anything. It's not like real age verification happens anyways, so you'll just have more kids with full-on accounts. And I'm sure that some kids will be banned, but generally they'll probably just circumvent it. This doesn't really solve all that much, but from a legal standpoint makes a lot more sense. It's a good move. And I would say that it's weird that this is happening now and not years ago, but I'm sure the last thing Meta wants or needs right now is another media frenzy hit piece about allowing minors to mingle in the metaverse. So they've cracked down to ban kids under 13 from VR as much as possible. But now it's time for a meme break! Excitement for the PSVR 2 after the price was announced. Kinda kidding, but maybe not. I guess this week's meme break will just be the topic, because the highly awaited PSVR 2's price and release date were just announced today. With pre-orders starting in November and shipping February 22nd, the OLED PlayStation VR 2 will cost $549, more than the cost of the PlayStation 5 itself. And I don't know what I really expected. I don't know, maybe that price doesn't sound too bad to some people considering all the tech that's jammed in the headset, but I was really hoping for more like a $300 or $400 headset. I mean, I've tried it before and it's good, like really good, but it's wired and only works with the PS5. It just sounds really steep that to be in PSVR, you're in well over $1,000. Sony did announce a bunch of games that will be coming, and I think that the exclusive category is where they're really going to be pushing sales. Games like Horizon, not that Horizon, Crossfire, and Firewall all look really good, so we'll have to see. I don't know, what do you think about this price? And of course, I'll get one and review it. It's no joke the reason why I got a PlayStation 5 at all. I'm just hoping that either modders or Sony themselves will enable some sort of PC VR support. Would definitely bring a lot more value to this $500 plus headset. VRChat has just received a pretty exciting update bringing hand tracking to Quest 2 and Quest Pro on their beta branch. So far, this only works with the standalone version of VRChat, them stating that PC VR implementation is halted due to platform and technical restrictions. And there are workarounds for hand tracking on PC that you can use now, although it's not quite the same as having full-on hand tracking support. It's more like controller emulation using hand tracking. But not gonna lie, regarding VRChat, they've done a crazy amazing job the past few months bringing updates since the easy anti-cheat fiasco. Whether you agree with that original decision or not, from personal mirrors to user interface updates, basically everything people have been asking for years have been added in some way, shape, or form. Easily, VRChat's in its best state it's ever been right now, and the updates just keep coming. I hope that they don't stop. And really, I think the only things that I'm asking for now are better face and eye tracking support, as well as bringing that hand tracking to PC, but all in all, it's just been a good few months for VRC. So the Quest Pro just launched with Qualcomm's latest processor, the Snapdragon XR2 Plus Gen 1, and I made my impressions video on it earlier this week if you're interested, but more is yet to come. Qualcomm recently announced that multiple new VR headsets will be announced by the end of the year that also include the XR2 Plus. The biggest benefits of this chip are that they're capable of handling more video streams, essentially more cameras. It's how the Quest Pro is able to have double the sensors as the Quest 2. Of course, we don't know who these headsets will be by and if any of them are aimed towards consumers at all. These all may just be prosumer or enterprise headsets, but we'll have to see. I've still got my eyes on HTC Vive though, as they do have a new headset they've been hinting at. We just know nothing about it right now, but I'm not sure that that headset in particular will have this more expensive processor, since it seems that HTC is aiming to bring this new headset to a more consumer audience. Unreal Engine 5 launched earlier this year with some pretty impressive tech demos, but two big features that pushed the engine to the next level initially did not support VR, those being Lumen and Nanite, and this has all changed recently with Unreal Engine 5.2. And holy crap, one of the demos shown off on Twitter displays some of the most realistic looking VR scenes I have ever seen. The demo just being a simple cave and flashlight, but it still looks really impressive. And I know PC VR hasn't exactly gotten the most attention lately, and PSVR is turning out to be quite expensive, but if games end up looking like this for those platforms, I think it's going to bring quite a bit of attention to both platforms. There are just a few things that you can't do on a mobile processor. The Pico 4 has been out in Europe and Asia for a few weeks now, and it's been doing pretty well, and I actually just got a Pico 4. Turns out that as an American, it was easier for me to fly to Japan and pick one up there. So I will be making a video on it for sure, but we have some interesting news regarding their enterprise lineup, the Pico 4 Pro and Pico 4 Enterprise. These headsets are set to directly compete against the Quest Pro, featuring the same base headset as the Pico 4, but with face and eye tracking built in. Except the Quest Pro costs $1,500 and the Pico 4 Pro costs around half that at $800. But there's something pretty disappointing here. The Pico 4 Pro and Enterprise are the same headset, the Enterprise model being sold only to businesses and the Pro model being sold to consumers as well. But it turns out that the Pro model is only being shipped in China with no plans on bringing it to the West. So if you want a headset that has eye tracking, face tracking, and pancake lenses, basically your only option is to buy a Quest Pro right now. And the Enterprise version really isn't an option at all, as it won't have access to the consumer app store. I would have thought that the Pico 4 Pro would have been an easy sell in Europe, but it's not coming. Haptx, a company known for their impressive enterprise VR glove solutions, just launched pre-orders for a brand new glove, the G1. A $4,500 set of gloves that replicates the sense of touch using hundreds of microfluid actuators, as well as force feedback. And that may sound crazy expensive, but their previous versions cost significantly more in the past, so things are getting quite a bit cheaper. It should also be known that this thing is pretty crazy, like you straight up wear an air compressor as a backpack, but after trying the demo last CES, I was definitely impressed. But now it's time for question of the week from Lunar Lucar. How long do you think it would take for compatible software to be developed to turn the PSVR 2 into a PC headset? Honestly, I wish this feature was coming at launch by Sony. If PSVR 2 also worked as a PC VR headset, the price tag would be way more justified, but I can imagine people will mod in support for PSVR 2 on PC really quickly. Just about everybody wants it to happen, and it happened with the original PSVR, so it'll probably happen within a short time of launch. At least, hopefully. Either way, when it does happen, I'll definitely be making a video on it. And that was question of the week. Leave your own down below and I may just answer yours next. What do you think about the whole Rec Room situation and about the price of the PSVR 2? I think this is just a pretty weird time for VR right now, but still a lot of pretty interesting things. Also, just wanted to remind everyone about the MC Summit event going on November 16th. It's free for anyone that comes from my channel and uses code THRILL at checkout. Pretty much a bunch of VR industry people, including myself and Fia, are going to be hosting talks at the Creator Summit, so the details are in the description if you're interested in coming. Should just be a fun time. I want to say thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. I couldn't do any of this without you, and don't forget to like this video if you loved it, subscribe if you want more of this, and hit that freaking bell if you just can't live without it. Much love, Thrill out.